Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Basalt Town Council meeting for April 25th, 2023. Still snowing. I looked on the calendar and somebody said, oh, today is January 83rd. So that's kind of where we are. So we will begin our meeting with a call to order and a roll call. Before we do that, let me just, for anybody that's calling in or watching, I think we may actually have the pleasure of some of Bennett Branson's students may be watching in tonight. I'm not sure that's the case, but at any rate, if access to the Basalt Town Council meeting can be found at www.basalt.net under the Agendas and Minutes tab. Click on the April 25th, 2023 meeting packet to open the meeting access instructions page. Click on the link to join the webinar. So then our town clerk will admit you and you can address council. So keep that in mind for public comment if you want to address council virtually. So with that, then I would call the meeting to order and call the roll.
Absolutely. Let's welcome back Dieter.
Thank you. Thank you, President.
Thank you. Angela Anderson.
Here.
Glenn Drummond.
Here.
David Knight.
Here.
Elise Hoddle.
Present.
Ryan Slack.
Here.
And Bill Kane.
Here.
The A-team is all here tonight. Thank you.
Great, that's good news. So first order of business is the consent agenda. We have 3 items. We have minutes from our April 11th meeting. We have resolution number 17 of 23. Resolution of Town Council of Basalt approving an agreement for professional services with the Fafman Group, LLC, for summer youth day camps. So, Matt's here if we have any questions on that. And then item 2C, continue to May 9, 2023, public hearing for the temporary modification of premises for Jimbo's. So entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, or if any counselor would care to pull any of these items off for further discussion, we may do that as well. So the floor is open for a motion.
Mayor, I move that the town council approve the consent agenda items as presented.
All right. Okay, moved and seconded. Roll call, or you just do? Okay. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So consent agenda is hereby approved. So this is, a moment ago, I was talking about call to the public. So if anyone would like to address council on an item that is not scheduled for discussion later on in the evening here, this is your chance to come up and address council. So the podium's open here. Come on up. And please tell us your name and
Should I sit?
your address. Sure, wherever you're comfortable, but that's usually what we do.
It's really special. So my name is Shelley Lund Freeman, and I'm here just to introduce myself and ask for your vote. I am running for a seat on the Crown Mountain Park and Rec District Board. And the election is May 2nd, a week from tonight. And I just thought I'd give you just a little bit of my background and qualifications and then get out of your hair. So I'm a Colorado native. I was born in Aspen. I ended up growing up in Texas, and then I moved back here after college. For 1 year it was going to be, and now I've stayed since 1988, so whatever that is, the math. I currently own a business called Advertising Enterprises. I publish maps for Basalt, Aspen, Snowmass Village, and Carbondale for the local businesses to advertise on for tourists to pick up. And I've been doing that for 28 years. And then I also work for the United States Tennis Association. I organize all of the adult leagues in the mountain towns of Colorado. So I'm very involved with the community on a recreational basis as well as a business basis. I'd like to be a member of the board of Crown Mountain because I think it's a beautiful asset for our community, and I think the current board and staff is doing a great job, and I would like to be part of that and add to the amenities and keeping the park just a wonderful place to enjoy. A couple of my goals would be just to maintain the high quality of existing fields and facilities. I'd like to work towards possibly putting in some pickleball courts in an area separate from the tennis courts, so they have separate courts for separate sports, and maybe away from the whole park, because it is kind of a little bit of a loud sport, but I think it's something that would be needed at the park if it can be put into the new PUD. I want to keep up the maintenance of the tennis courts and possibly add a couple, which is approved in the current PUD, which would be great. What else? I like to keep the dog parks and improve them, and also promote the aging well amenities that the current board is thinking about, which includes the walking loop, putting in gardens, and adding some fitness activities. And then finally, I would like to look into possibly seeing if the Crown Mountain Park and Rural District boundaries could be expanded in order to maybe increase the tax base so that the park can be maintained and we can add new stuff. I don't know what that entails, but that I think would be maybe beneficial. Finally, I just wanted to let you know I'm qualified because I'm very organized. Am I up?
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention to you, we have a 3-minute, this is a filibuster rule here.
All
We
right,
have a
well, I'm very
3-minute.
qualified. I'm organized, I'm a people person, I'm a leader, I'm an action person, and I'd really like your vote on May 2nd. You will, at this point, probably have to go vote in person, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and it's at Crown Mountain Park, the bike and tennis, what do you call it, clubhouse. It's not at Eagle County Community Center. So when you drive into Crown Mountain, you're going to go back to where the tennis courts are and the BMX, and you can vote in person there. So thank you so much for your time. All right.
Was your dad, Dr. Freeman, at the Aspen Valley Hospital?
No, my dad was Radar Lund.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know that
Snowmass
too.
Mountain has a run named after him called Radars. He was on the patrol up there. So, but my husband's Howard Freeman.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Anyone else care to address council tonight? Come on up.
I again have it. So I'm here again to ask you again to reconsider removing the head-in parking on Midland Avenue. As I've said before, we've always had a shortage. It's the comment I hear over and over again from my clients, that they can't find a place to park. I think if you add those parking spaces over on the spur and keep Midland Avenue head-in parking, then that's a step in the right direction. I walked around Aspen on Sunday, and on the malls, which are pedestrian areas, there's an incredible number of empty spaces and businesses that have gone out of business. But on the streets where there's parking, all those spaces were full. So it was just sort of a connection that I made. Many of my clients are elderly, and they will really not be able to ride their bikes into town or use the WeBike or, take the shuttle from the school. So just another parking issue. So also please consider enforcing parking in the 2-hour parking ordinance in downtown. Every day I see the same cars parked outside all day. And so getting people to not park in front of their business all day is not really working.
Yeah.
So I just put that out there to you to please consider. I understand that you're bidding at the Midland Avenue construction, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the effort that was put in there. Because the summer is literally the only time of the year when I make money. And I use that money to pay my bills all year round. So I hope you can understand how important it is, and I wouldn't be here bothering you if I didn't feel really strongly about it. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your work.
Thanks, Laura. I'm sure we'll be revisiting the 2-hour parking. We get to revisit it every 6 months, it seems like, so we'll be back at it again, I'm sure. Anyone else care to address council? We have a, Pam, we have somebody calling in, do we?
We have Kathleen Cole on. Let me mute. Kathleen, you're on the town council meeting. If you could please unmute to provide your comments.
Kathleen, you're muted, so you have to click your little unmute button.
I punched
There we go.
unmute. Can you hear me now?
Got it, yeah, turn up your volume. Get close to the mic.
Okay. I'm very close. I just wanted to see if Ted Guy's letter was received this afternoon to be read into the record. He
Okay.
sent it to me just to proofread, and but I thought since I'm watching anyway, and I didn't hear that you had it, that I'd like to read it if you don't.
We do, and if you can read fast, go ahead.
Yeah, I timed it for him anyway. Okay, it's Dear Mayor and Town Council. Since I'm traveling today, I'm unable to make my comments in person. I ask that this letter be read into the record. Midland Avenue needs improvements that are not in the plan selected by the council and its consultant team. The lack of adequate parking in the heart of Basalt is the biggest problem Old Town has, and your plan removes critical parking spaces while creating new parking 2 blocks away. The addition of 30 new spaces is fantastic. The loss of 22 or more spaces in the core of Midland Avenue will be a disaster. You need to revise the current plan to maintain the existing diagonal parking wherever possible. The entire community is waiting patiently for the bid opening in mid-May to see what the costs and impacts would be without a summer construction shutdown on Midland Avenue. You are to be congratulated for taking that step. Certainly, some of the current sidewalk layouts need improvements and design modifications. No one I know thinks we need to lose parking and go to parallel parking to significantly increase sidewalk widths and turn Midland into a mini pedestrian zone. It appears that Midland Avenue will also be torn up for part of summer of '24 to do sidewalk work, which is not being highlighted by the public outreach. The community has never been asked to approve or deny the plan you are implementing. The November 2021 vote authorized the continuation of an existing mill level only. None of the 3 plans used in advertising were on the ballot and were not considered or approved. Mitzi's statement at last week's evening public outreach said it all, quote, "We are listening, but we are not going to make any changes," unquote. I suggest the truth is the design team is not listening at all. Diagonal parking is not illegal, as it was described by a Connect One employee. Three Rivers Road uses head-in parking for over half of the new spaces created by the Basalt River Park development. Most of the parking at Willits is diagonal on street parking. Please maintain the current diagonal parking in the core of Old Town Midland Avenue from the Midland Mall to Sotheby's. As a postscript, the improvements to Swinging Bridge pedestrian lane have been completed in a timely manner with little disruption to the path. Thank you to the town and its subcontractors. Thank you, Ted Guy.
All right, thanks, Kathleen.
That,
So, anyone else like to address council either virtually or in the audience? Okay, so that concludes our call to the public. Next order of business is mayor and council reports, comments. David and Elise.
So just a couple things. First, make sure my mic's the lights on Swinging Bridge. I got to see them today, taking a walk. It looks great out there, so I'm excited to see them at night, but not tonight probably. So then the second thing I had for everybody was I just wanted to raise something for awareness and for a call to action for us. This is in regards to the state wildlife area up on the hill there, Lake Christine, but I think it applies to Toner and all the sections of it. So there's a draft document out there showing I guess, laying out some updated dates that may be taken into effect by the board, the commission rather, for moving the closure date from April 15th, or sorry, this is actually the opening date, from April 15th to July 15th. So instead of the current situation where the area is closed to hikers and non-hunters, December 1st to April 15th, it would be December 1st to July 15th. That's a, incredible amount of time. It constitutes, I think, about 9 months of the year being closed. So I think this is something that everybody needs to be aware of. We need to all make comments about if you go hiking there, whatever you do in there recreationally, that will not be available unless you're hunting. The shooting range is going to be open. There's no changes to that in the proposed changes in the document there. So, yeah, we want to find out more, and we're going to probably be asking some questions and what's the driver, what's the science, what's the data that's, with the animals and everything that's driving this proposed change. But they are accepting comments through May 24th, and you can go to engagecpw.org. So, and it's engage CPW, just spell it out, engagecpw.org, and it's pretty easy. I checked it out. It's pretty user friendly. So you can make comments. Check out page 17 in particular. That shows all the edits, the strike throughs, the additions, all that stuff. And make your comments, because that's the edge of our town. Like it's out off a spur out of the neighborhood. It's over there by Lake Christine. And if 9 months of the year, if our border of our town is closed essentially, that's, I think, pretty impactful. So anyway, I'd also like to get a letter together from the council to, just taking a position. Obviously, we're going to get more information, give a little time, but I'd like to, get that out there, because this is a pretty dramatic shift in the closure dates. So, yeah, I just wanted to raise that.
Great.
So I have 3 separate and unrelated comments. I will start with a thank you to the Basalt Police Department for posting the off-leash areas in Basalt. And just to say a big thank you to Basalt in general for giving us these off-leash dog run areas. So if you're not familiar, there are 5 in the town of Basalt. Albany Park, Southside Park, the north part of Linear Park, Confluence Park, and Lions Park, which is here around Town Hall. Really appreciate having those. Also a reminder, however, to be responsible and pick up after your dog so that we don't lose that privilege. So thank you. Second, as a representative for the West Mountain Regional Housing Coalition, and I think, yes, James is bringing this up on screen. So we have a consultant working for us, which is through one of the grants that we've received. And there are a number of efforts that she is working on that are underway, but specific to this flyer that I'm sharing with you all, we're trying to advertise this survey to get a better understanding of renter households' current situation and housing needs throughout the valley. The survey is available in both English and in Spanish, and it's just basic questions like, do you live in a 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom? How many people do you share with? What city do you live in? How long did it take you to find your current housing? That sort of thing. It's just an idea to fill the gaps in knowledge from the survey that was done back in, 2019, that the original study was done? Yeah.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, yes. So we would appreciate any and all takers filling out this survey, giving us your information. I know there's a ton of renters up and down the valley, so that's what that's all about.
Where do we find it?
Well, now you'll find it up here.
Yeah, well, I know. Scan it right now.
Do you want us to put a link on our website?
I would love that.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be fabulous. And then I would like to switch gears altogether. I am not able to participate in any of the Midland Avenue streetscape discussions as a member, as a employee of Connect One Design. However, as a board representative for the Eagle County Climate Action Collaborative, the Community Office for Resource Efficiency, and an alternate for the Colorado Communities for Climate Action, I feel it would be remiss in not mentioning that the conflict over parking is contrary to our stated desire to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in this city and in the valley, Eagle County specifically. We signed on to the Eagle County Climate Action Plan, and we declared a climate emergency. And I don't believe that we need any additional parking spaces. I think if we're gonna make a dent in this goal, which is 7 years away to reduce greenhouse gases by 50%, we have to start looking at alternatives. So we have a great bus system that comes through town. We have the Basalt Connect shuttle. We have WeCycle stations. It is less than a quarter of a mile to walk from the elementary school across Swinging Bridge to get to downtown. And I also want to say, for those that need ADA access, there will always be parking available for them. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
I just want to make one correction to something I said. I counted my months wrong, so I want it for the record.
Yeah.
Just doing it on the fly. 4.5 months is what the current closure is. 7.5 months is what the proposal is. So I just want to make sure for the record
Okay.
that I get that right.
dramatic.
I forgot the wrong number.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Manager, do you have?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. Wanted to give a shout out to Chief Knott for getting a Healthy Rivers grant. He and I went down to Carbondale and he presented to the Healthy Rivers Board and got $4,000 from them to help pay for the stream gauge that we're gonna be putting up on the Frying Pan River at the Pueblo Bridge. So that's being put up now. The benefit to that, he was kind of looking at it through public safety lens. We mentioned the last time that there were 8 tributaries below the dam, and that's where the gauge currently exists. So having this extra one will just help inform public safety moving into the future. But an ancillary benefit to that is being able to look at stream flows, which would be handy for our local fishermen. So that is, I'd say probably in the next few weeks to a month, should be up and running and actually visible on a website. So pretty exciting, and thanks to Chief for that. And then I was going to mention the Swinging Bridge Trail. That was a project that Chris Beiser, our public works employee and arborist, had coordinated. Boyd was out there helping them, and they kind of did an all-hands-on-deck effort. Roaring Fork Outdoor Volunteers was scheduled to help plant, but the day they were going to come, it was pretty horrible weather, so they canceled, but I think a few showed up anyway. So that was just a great project. So if you haven't seen it, it looks really great. We have permanent lighting down there to aid in the people being able to walk back and forth from the elementary school for parking purposes, but then just those that use it. I think it's a nice improvement for our trail system. And other than that,
Great,
that's all
thank
I
you.
have. Thanks, Mayor.
All right, thanks very much. So, we, next order of business are presentations, and we will be pleased to hear from Doug Pattison, our CFO, on the fourth quarter 2022 finances, so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You want to put the, in your packet, there was 5 pages after a memo I had prepared illustrating where we are at 12/31/22. So what we start with the general fund. This has really got good news across the board here. We had budgeted for the fiscal year a loss of $2 million, and or actually expenses over revenue $2 million. And actual results were that revenues exceeded expenses by $2 million. So it's a $4 million swing, basically. And when you look behind what caused that, Sales taxes were higher by about 1.1 million. Our building permits were also higher by about 400,000. We also had the tailwind of interest being more than what it was in the previous year of about another, say, $400,000 or $500,000. So the revenue number was about 2 million higher. And then on the expense front, across the board, of all the department expenses were under budget by the aggregate of $1.5 million. And we spent 500 less in capital than what we had budgeted. So what we're seeing there is a favorable variance of about $4 million. And this is just the next page there. There's a lot of data here. So I'm just trying to boil the ocean here and show you that this is a graphical illustration, just what our revenue mix is and where the expenditures were spread throughout our various departments. So then moving through to the restricted funds, similarly, we had positive news. We had budgeted for the calendar year 2022 a loss of 3.3 million. And again, expenses over revenue. I still have that for-profit mentality, sorry. And the revenues over expenditures came in at 1.4 million. So it was a swing of in that case, it was a swing of about 4.8 million. 800 was revenue. We had 2.5 million less in capital spent last year, and again, department expenses were across the board reduced by about $1.5 million. So all in all, we had about a $9 million aggregate. Look at both funds, favorable results to what the budget was. And then, yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, just one quick question.
Sure,
On that 1.5 of savings.
Yep.
Or deferred expenses, is there anything that was kind of just pushed to this year that's not so much an actual savings, but a more of a,
Timing difference?
yeah, just like a
Yeah.
pass-through on like the dump truck or on a,
Yeah, well, I think the capital really rolls from $2.5 million of unspent capital from the
Mhm.
restricted fund. That really rolled into 2023. I think last year, we spent much of the funds in capital in the Basalt River project and Albany Park. That was principally, and there's probably about, Ryan, 20 different projects within that post-project that did not get to this
Okay.
year. But I actually had went through that with Boyd and Matt and his team recently, and also Michelle last week, and we'll see kind of where we are with some of these projects. And then they are on tap for this year, so I don't think we're going to be seeing this type of variance when we close the books for '23.
And I think too, we had a few, where, as it relates to like department budgets and things like that, the PD and Public Works, for example, weren't able to get any of the vehicles for vehicle replacement. And, there was some staffing savings that we saw in there. And then I do think that some of our projects, just kind of roll over, as Doug had mentioned, so.
We had a lot, and we had, we didn't anticipate having some ARPA money that came through as the COVID relief
Yeah.
funds. So that was $1 million coming in. So we had some things coming in that were all tailwind, so that $1 million less that we had to borrow.
yeah.
So all those were favorable variances. I mean, the only department that expended more than its budget was recreation, and that was principally the pool. But that was offset by higher income in the pool.
Yeah.
So net, if you look at the pool, actually it spent more, but it also earned more. So it actually, there wasn't anything in my view that was going, alarm bells that were going off as far as variances. And our audit's scheduled to begin May 8th. So these are the preliminary results. The field work is about I think a week to 10 days. I think by the end of June or so, we'll have a audited set of statements. And the last page in your book is there's more of a depiction of some of the smaller funds. The one we have for Riverside Condo Association, that's our affordable housing. We have our water fund. We have our bond fund, which is just really money in and out of the mill levy paying off our debt service, and our capital construction fund, which is our Midland project. So we're on all of those. The capital construction fund probably has the most velocity this year coming in. We had the bond offering, as you know, 17.7 million or so in revenue, or I guess it would be revenue. And then the expenses against it is principally the Midland project. And then our affordable housing money as well. We ended the year with about just south of $36 million of cash equivalents. So we're actually in a strong position. And I looked at our positions at March 31, and we're actually up like 2 million from where we were at 12/31. So we continue to have, like, the first quarter is that's an indicative of what we're gonna be doing for the year. We're gonna, hopefully continue on with the momentum that we have. Yeah.
Doug, question, not necessarily directly related to fourth quarter, but we've got a bit of a fiscal tsunami coming our way with the real estate property tax reappraisals, which anybody saw the newspaper story, that's pretty amazing. So Eagle County is looking at 70% appreciation over the previous assessments. Pitkin County is pretty close. Just in the interest of our citizens knowing, should people be girding for some kind of spectacular increase in property taxes, or is it mitigated by Tabor and by some of our mills, our mill levies are mill levy overrides, so they produce a consistent cash flow to not exceed, and the mill levy fluctuates in response to the assessed base. But do we have any intelligence about what this is going to spell for our citizens in
I
Basalt?
don't, but I can add that for you for the next meeting. I can get a little more. It'd be speculation at this point. So I know that our year-over-year increase in the mill levy went down a little bit, I think, this year versus last year. And that's notwithstanding the appraisal values being a little higher.
Yeah.
And we kept really mill levy is two things, is for the general operating expenses and our debt service. Our debt service is around $950,000. That won't increase. And we have our debt's already lined up for the next, I don't want to say 20 years or so, with basically the two offerings that we closed, tax exempt bond offering.
Yeah.
So, I think we have some leeway in it, but I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, we know when we know. Yeah, they don't really consult us
Right.
on that. We just find out, so it's going to be interesting to see.
I was encouraged, though, looking at March, look at our sales tax collections for the first 3 months. And what we're directly being remitted by the state is we're holding our own versus where we were relative to the budget. We budgeted a flat number.
Yeah.
So we're not underwater yet.
I'll just add one thing on our general operating mill levy. That is set.
Yeah.
And we have debruced and are otherwise not subject to this statutory revenue limitations. So the revenue will undoubtedly, if we have increased valuations, the revenue from our operating mill levy will undoubtedly go up.
Okay. All right, any questions for Mr. Pattison? We like those kind of reports, so just keep those guys coming in. Is 23 looking hopeful?
Like I said, 23, we got $2 million more in the bank than we started.
Yeah, so.
And we had a little bit of a windfall from the sale of the element, that created some windfall.
Yeah.
And we're really on cash. We're really earning a lot more than we had budgeted on our excess reserves. We have very little of money over at Alpine Bank, and it is intentional to reach for a little bit of yield where we can without taking undue risk. And like I think in February, we bought some treasuries, and we got our yield was 5.11, 6-month treasuries. So you can't get that right now. So we were lucky, good timing in getting that. But we're doing well. I feel very comfortable with where we're at right now.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
So next item is council actions. We're on item 7A. It's a resolution number 18, series of 2023. Resolution of the Town Council of Basalt, Colorado, adopting a new Town of Basalt logo. This is big.
Yeah. So I will go ahead and kick it off, and I'll introduce some folks from our team, and then I'll invite Kristen up here to kick things off, and then we have a few presenters that were on our logo committee. Also I want to mention that Ryan Burke from Slate Communications, who you all met, council, back in early January. He's online tonight, but Kristen Knoll, who will be presenting in just a moment, is with Slate and will be doing the presentation. Tonight we are going to hear from 3 presenters. So Bill Marin, familiar face to you guys, will be presenting. And then we have Owen Lambert, who is a high schooler here, a Longhorn, and then also Holden Leahy. So I had gone to the student council class, and we surveyed the student council, and then I ended up being able to get a few high schoolers to sit on the logo committee, which was great to get that perspective. And then also on the logo committee, not presenting tonight, but here is Josh Mueller. And then we also have Eileen Fagan here. And I want to reiterate that Eileen and Josh and Bill, they're all on some of our town committees. So that's how we ended up pulling for this ad hoc committee. So it was nice of them to put in the extra time for us. And then Katie Erickson and Julie Kolar were also on that, and they are not here tonight in person. So with that, why don't we have Kristen come up, and she'll talk a little bit about the background, and then we'll get the other speakers. So thanks.
Thanks so much, Ryan, and good evening, Mayor and members of council. Thanks so much for having me. Tonight is an exciting evening, and this really is at the tail end of a process that started back in November. So Ryan reached out and asked that Slate Communications help the town through this logo redesign process. And I am Kristen Knoll, and I am the Director of Communication Strategy for Slate, and we work exclusively with local governments. We're a marketing and public relations firm, and we do branding and strategic communication projects across the state and in other states across the country. So for Basalt, we really started a process that was very inclusive of the community. As Ryan said, there were a lot of individuals involved, and we start the process. You can change the slide. We have a really defined process for how we move through the logo and rebranding process for a community. And it really starts with the feedback. So when Ryan Burke was here in town meeting individually with you, we started to gather keywords and phrases and themes that were similar from everybody that we chatted with. We then conducted interviews with each board and commission as well. So including the individuals that are serving on the ad hoc brand committee, we met with each board and commission as a whole to get their feedback and understanding of what Basalt means to them. What does a new logo look like to them? What are some elements that would be really important to include? We also conducted an interview and in-person listening session with staff. A new town logo is something that they will be wearing and representing. It will be on town collateral, on the sides of vehicles. So we wanted to get their input as well on what really the organization means to them. And then we also met with these stakeholder groups throughout the community. So we conducted an in-person and virtual meeting with the Latino community after a church service, had conversations with business owners as well. So in all, that was another 8 stakeholders or so. So all that information and fact-finding really helps us to create this brand platform, which starts to create the visual aspects of a new logo. And that really helps us to talk to our graphic designers and start coming up with some design concepts. You have some great talent in the community, and we opened up the opportunity to local graphic designers to create some logos. And then the brand committee got to review 9 logos anonymously from 2 local graphic design firms and several designs that were created by the Slate team as well. Now, this is kind of where we are in the process, but moving forward, if you approve the logo, we will continue to create the brand foundation. That's all of the collateral pieces, the new logo going on your website, and creating business cards and letterhead, and mocking up street signage and vehicles and those sorts of things. It's a process and will take time, but it should be done thoughtfully and thoroughly. And that really leads to implementing the brand and really having a visual new identity. And then we create a style guide, so that's really the rules of how will the new logo be used across all of those different assets. So I wanted to touch a little bit on some of those keywords and things that we heard. And again, this is really to help us build that foundation for what the visual logo would look like. So what we heard from all of those interviews was that Basalt really is a close-knit community, that you're family friendly, that you have this small town charm. You really pride yourself on being environmentally friendly. You see yourselves as being authentic, a real authentic Colorado town. So I'll kind of go through the process again. So from those community conversations, that allowed us to create the brand committee. Then we engaged the local graphic designers. We presented those logos to the committee, and they provided feedback, and we narrowed down the options. Then last week, we showed 3 of the top logos to the community. So we advertised in the Aspen Times online newspaper platform and shared on the town's social media platforms an opportunity for the community to review the top logo options and then vote for their favorite as well. And this evening, obviously, presentation of the logo to all of you. And if approved, we'll implement the new brand and logo. So what we heard about the current brand is your logo was created about 20 years ago, and it's just outdated. It's really not unique to the area where where you are geographically in the state. It's a little too detailed. It can be difficult to reproduce. And it doesn't really show the river confluence. We heard that the river was a really important element, visual element of the town. So in that feedback on the actual logos that we presented to the community, we received 247 responses. There was a survey to the community and a survey to employees, and in total, 247 individuals chose which logo they liked the most. So in talking to town staff, some of the elements that and kind of keywords and phrases that we heard from them was that they really pride themselves on being a customer service oriented organization, really approachable, friendly, professional. So again, you can think of all of these keywords and you'll see how some of these elements tie into the new logo that we're going to present to you this evening. So at this time, I would like to call up Holden and Owen to give their perspective on the process, and we'd like to ask you kind of how you felt about being a part of the committee and what Basalt means to you.
You guys can sit too if you want.
Evening, gentlemen.
Hello.
And make sure when you talk, you talk into the microphone.
Okay. So I'm Owen Lambert. I'm a junior at Basalt High School, and I got to be a part of this committee through my student council, and I was really interested in redesigning and being a part of making a new logo for our town. And I really was interested in this process because I feel like I want to be more connected with the not older but more mature audience and part of my community. I feel like this step and me being a part of the committee allowed me to establish a connection between the high school and my generation and your guys's. So I feel like my ideas had a good impact on the rest of the committee, and I feel like I could introduce my ideas and what my generation thought about what our town felt like and how, because I grew up here, I grew up in Basalt, and I feel like my input and thoughts about how I feel my town was growing up is very important to the committee and what it did for the logo and how we designed it.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
We may have some openings on city council election in 2024. Looks like you got a good start here.
Holden, will you grab the mic and just put it a little closer to you?
Awesome. Good evening, council. I'm Holden Leahy. I'm a freshman at Basalt High School, and I am part of the student council. And I am a member on the rebranding of Basalt. I was asked a question by Mr. Mahoney and Miss Knoll. What did you like about being a part of the brand committee? Being a part of the rebranding committee was an incredibly fulfilling experience to me. It gave me the opportunity to contribute my voice to the process of rebranding our town and provide a deeper understanding to the thought and effort that goes into making a significant decision for our small town. Additionally, Ms. Knoll asked me, what does the town of Basalt represent to you? Growing up in the town of Basalt, I've seen that Basalt is a friendly and close-knit community that loves spending time outdoors and surrounded by nature, while enjoying the company of good friends. Thank you for your time.
Great.
And can I just say that both of these guys in the committee meetings with a room full of adults were not bashful at all
No, that's
to
great.
share their thoughts, which was
Deal.
really great, you guys, so thank
Really
you.
valuable input.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we get to know which one they voted for?
Well, probably at the end.
Reveal is
Yeah.
coming. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to turn it over to Bill, who's going to talk a little bit more about the brand committee's perspective and the work that they did.
Thank you all. It's a pleasure to sit in front of you guys. You guys are so busy here. This is way better than planning commission. This is like being at the grown-ups table. I love that. First off, I wanted to say that this was a great process. It was super, super fun. Not that being on planning commission isn't, but it was a lot like the master plan processes, and we had this long outreach, and it got to interact with lots of people, and especially these wonderful gentlemen back here who were super fun to work with. But I really feel that it was sort of keeping with the spirit of Basalt in a couple ways. It was really important to us to think about coming up with something that represented not only how we think about the town, but how we think about ourselves. And I think we really did that, and we did it in a fun and not too stodgy way. You know, our old logo was a little tired, and you know, what we came up with is way better than the sleeping dinosaur. I don't know if you can all see it in our logo, but and apologies to Mark Kittle, but it served us well for a long, long time. I think it's time to put it to rest. But in our work, the residents stated that they didn't want anything overly literal or detailed, and I think we did that. I think we came up with something very simple and graphic, and I must say, when you get to see the final design, it looks really cool on the trucks, and I like that. It doesn't feel like a lot of the logos that other communities have. and a lot of the Colorado town logos and branding, they all kind of look the same. And I think it was really important that we came up with something that really spoke to who we are. And it really, once you see it, it really speaks to our view of this town being from the mountains to the confluence. And when you see it, it will really reinforce that. So thank you very much
Great, Bill.
for giving us the
Thanks
opportunity to do this.
Thanks for your hard work and help on all this. This is really cool.
Super fun.
And you might not believe this, but Bill wasn't bashful in the meetings either.
All
That's
right.
great.
Can change the slide. So this is the new logo that was both selected by the brand committee and also the top choice among those 247 individuals that did vote. So the concept here is, again, a really simplified visual of who the town is. You are a mountain community that is nestled here by the confluence of the rivers. Ryan has pointed out that the trees actually really look very similar to the trees that you see in your downtown park. It's something that can be reproduced very easily in both color and black and white, and is a logo that should have longevity and last a long time and not become outdated quickly. So the next slide, you'll see some mock-ups of just some ideas of what some of the collateral might look like. Again, the side of a vehicle, on a staff shirt, business cards, and that sort of thing. So at this time, I guess we'll open it up, for questions or conversation.
I wanted to mention just one more thing, and I wanted to first of all thank the two local firms that came forward and presented their results. I think it was a neat way to kind of get different thoughts around stuff we heard in the community. I think this logo is one, and we've struggled with this with our current logo, and we kind of heard about this through the process from the folks at Slate, is having a logo that's easily reproducible and flexible is really important. We end up putting it, as she said, on t-shirts. Often we embroider that into t-shirts. If you have multiple colors, it's difficult to get there. It can be more expensive. The other thing is that black and white frame. And with this in a black and white that I think was on the previous, it looks really crisp and clean. And the nice thing is when you're doing signage like relief cutouts and things like that in metal, it'll come through. And so for that reason, I really liked it for that versatility. And the other thing Kristen mentioned is, we talked about the mountains that, we don't necessarily have those big peaks just right here in town. But, if you go up the frying pan where you can kind of see the smaller river coming from, that is where those peaks are. And it kind of flows down into town. And along the way, we have those evergreen trees. And here in this park, which is really where our organization, operates from, in large part, we have these beloved spruce trees. So, yeah, that wasn't the idea, but when I saw that, it just kind of, it struck me. So, at any rate, I'm really happy with what you guys did, but you guys are the ones that need to ask questions and make the final decision, so.
Comments, guys?
I'm curious if you have the actual breakdown of those 247 comments, like how people voted.
I do, and it was very close. So I think in your packet, there were actually 3 logos that were shared. The more detailed one that kind of looks like a badge with the red and orange was also a high favorite, and the difference in votes was like 2. I mean, it really was so very close. The basalt and B with the kind of river underneath the letters was a clear third, very low third place. But really, the brand committee discussed kind of these two logo options, knowing that the community was kind of divided on these options, and it came down to how easy is it to reproduce each of these logos. And for that reason, the more simplified version is what really rose to the top. This logo will be, as Ryan said, put on clothing. We add department names. It'll be on signage, and we talk about, is it something that would look good on the side of a building, like the side of Town Hall? And does it look good on a pen or a pin or, you know, something really small? So it has to be that kind of diverse.
Well, I like it, and I appreciate all the hard work that the committees have put into it and taken it for tour. And of the three choices, that was my favorite as well.
I like the top two as well, but I think you guys landed just right with the functionality aspect, and the colors are really nice. I mean, I think that's going to look good no matter what you put it on with those colors, or black and white. So I think we landed in the right spot.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I just, I like it a lot. A little bit concerned about the scale of it and how that's going to work out on stationery and letterhead, you know, and how that logo's, just the size of it looks like it could really overwhelm the page. So I guess we'll work through that, but that's really something we got to be a little bit attentive to. It feels like it's kind of logo that would be really cool as a stamp, you know?
Yeah.
So
Bill's
I
worried
mean,
about how it's going to look on him as a tattoo.
You go first.
the green could be tough, the green. And then one of the upper right one just was visually a little disorienting. It seems like the words "town of" kind of interfere with the logo. I don't know, it's a really petty or small comment, but it feels like it feels more complete if you have the whole sort of center line of the river in the logo. So small point, but anyway, congratulations. They look
Good
great,
feedback.
and I thought it looked really good on the trucks. I can see our BPAC maybe adding some, with the trees, some birds and some fish in the river, and this thing could really get out of hand here.
Just add everything in there.
One important thing to mention too, I believe most of you were here when we had some of our committees come forward and wanted, their own, brand, if you will, and we kind of promised that, no, we're gonna start a process to do this, and so we'll be able to, each committee will have, like our departments, the ability to have their name on there, so.
And that makes me think of a question too. So when there's a style guide and a repository of artifacts, assets basically for this, I'm assuming it's more than what's on the page here. There'll be different things for different purposes, and maybe that'll address some of like the use cases around, letterhead versus truck versus, metal sign, right?
They're pretty in-depth when you look at these style guides. They go through all of those scenarios, and we would be given, all of the, the different logos to use in those applications. So.
Cool.
Yep, exactly.
Great. Further comments, discussion? Looks like we're on our way here. This is pretty cool.
I guess
So, have we done anything for Mark Kittle? Has he been,
We asked him, well, we had interviewed him and asked him to be on the committee, and he declined to be on the committee. He had some other stuff going on, but he's well aware of the process, and so we wanted to make sure we honored what he had done, and that was with us for over 20 years that we asked him about. So it has served us well, but it's nice to do a refresher.
I just hope we thank him for all his work on it. So great.
It's a classic.
All right.
Elise, did you have something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, you know, I liked all of the color in one of the runners-up, but I appreciate how you explained, you know, how you arrived at the final decision, because I would not have, you know, taken any of that into consideration, even though I'm a marketing director in my real life, and now I'm looking at it from the perspective of like putting it into a proposal or something like that, and I'm like, yeah, it's nice and clean for that.
Absolutely. And we will continue to build out the brand colors. There are more colors that could be utilized as kind of secondary. You know, they won't be a part of the actual logo, but could be used in marketing material as tertiary or secondary colors as well. So all of those pieces go into that larger brand guide. So there's still a lot of work for us to do to really bring the logo and the whole brand to life.
Do we get a font too?
And a font, yes. Yep.
Mayor, I move that town council adopt resolution number 18, series of 2023.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We've got a new logo here. This is cool. Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
So we now are on to interview and appointment for prospective BOC members. Michelle?
All right. This is the feel-good portion of the meeting. Good evening. We're here to interview a prospective BOC member, Sarah Garcia. There's one opening currently on the BOC committee, and then we will have a full board. Sarah is a Basalt area resident and works as an economic specialist for Eagle County in the Elgibel office. She grew up in the Roaring Fork Valley and has seen the change in demand in human services over the years. Sarah interacts with Basalt area community members daily concerning food security, childcare, and housing assistance. She brings a professional understanding of the issues and needs of our community, and also elevates the importance of a Latino perspective on the BOC board. Sarah attended the March 23rd BOC meeting and was recommended for appointment. Staff recommends council interview the applicant, and if comfortable, make a motion to appoint Sarah Garcia to a 3-year term.
Great.
With that.
Welcome, sir. Thanks for your interest and willingness to help the community out. So, are there questions from council that you would like to address to Sarah? Maybe just say, go ahead.
Thanks for volunteering.
Yeah. Yeah, why don't you just tell us a few, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you know, we have a number of committees. I was curious why you chose BOC as the one of interest.
Because you guys focus on housing, and I think that's very important. For somebody who's lived here my whole life, I have watched it change so much. I feel like there was a point where housing was so affordable. It was easy to live here, and now I feel like it's very difficult. You have to at least have 2 jobs to live comfortably. And so it's just, if there's anything that I could do, or any perspective that I could bring in, I'd love to do that. Yeah.
Have you been to a BOC meeting? Have you seen the sausage being made here? That's the kind of.
No, I have not. No, I haven't had the opportunity.
Yeah. There'll be plenty. That's pretty nice. So why don't you just say a few words about growing up here and maybe your take on our housing predicament?
Well, like I said, I was born and raised here. I went to school in Aspen High School. And it's just, it's so different, I feel like. I feel like 1 bedroom used to easily be 1,000, at most even 700, and now a studio is up to like 2,500.
Wow.
I mean, I feel like it's just like it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
And like working with the community, especially in Eagle County, I have a lot of people coming in asking for rental assistance because they can't afford it, and it's really hard for them with the whole living situation. So, and I feel like at least when I was younger, I didn't feel like that was such
Yeah.
such a big thing, and I just feel like now as I've gotten older and just working closer with that community, I've noticed that it's a big deal.
Well, you're coming at an exciting time. We have this West Mountain Regional Housing Coalition that Elise is a
Would you like
member
to
of.
take a flyer for your
Yes, I
office?
would love
Yeah.
to. Yeah, please. Yeah.
So this is really our great hope for, kind of organizing our finances through all the local governments in the valley so that we have a sharp focus and that we're not all going in different directions and, potentially working at cross purposes. So this is a great time to do that. All right.
Thank you.
Motion?
Thank you for volunteering.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Mayor, I move that the town council appoint Sarah Garcia to the Basalt Affordable Community Housing for a 3-year term ending April 25th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded.
Okay.
All those
Thank
in
you.
favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I appreciate it.
What we always say is congratulations, I think.
Yeah, I think.
So,
I'll take it. I'll
yeah.
take it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Be a great addition.
Mayor, I'd also like to send a compliment out to Michelle.
Yeah.
She has spearheaded filling all of our committees.
Yeah.
For the first time in 6 years, all of our committees are now full.
Fantastic.
That is incredible. That is incredible outreach, and I know she's been pounding the pavement, and I just want to tell her thank you because that's a pretty cool accomplishment. And to get all these people involved in our town is what we want in our town. So, and thank you, Sarah, for being there.
Great. Okay. Next item. It's a continued public hearing, second reading of ordinance number 6, series of 2023, ordinance of the Town Council, Town of Basalt, Colorado, approving an amendment to the Basalt River Park Development Final Plan application on Lot 1 of the Basalt Community Campus subdivision. Sarah and James, I think we're pretty well versed on this, but, certainly give us the highlights.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is a public hearing and second reading of ordinance number 6, series of 2023. I have the applicants here today that are representing their organizations. We have Kevin Eisel with the Roaring Fork Fire Rescue Authority and Matt Gianneschi from Colorado Mountain College. And they're behind me and can answer any questions you will have after my brief presentation. Again, the request is an amendment to the CSC Zone District's final plan approval for the River Park development at 22860 Two Rivers Road. The building in question is circled on the screen, the graphic on the screen. We're talking about the gallery building here. And this application has been made with the permission of the owners of the development. So the request is seeking an amendment to that final plan approval in order to change the occupancy priority of 4 Category 2 affordable housing units that are located in that mixed-use gallery building, as you see there, as well as a waiver from the Category 2 income and asset levels when occupied by employees of the applicant's organizations. So just a little bit of background for the sake of public record. Council did approve the Basalt River Park development in 2020 with 4 2 and 3 bedroom Category 2 units were approved for this gallery building. In the approval, the 4 affordable housing units, it was stated that those would have first occupancy priority for full-time employees that are employed within the River Park development, followed by the occupancy priority set forth in the town's community housing guidelines. And then furthermore, those occupants would need to meet the town's income and asset levels that are associated with the Category 2 housing. So with this proposal, the applicants are requesting to change that priority so that the first priority for the occupancy would go to the applicant's employees, as well as a waiver from the income and asset restrictions that are associated with those Category 2 requirements while occupied by the employees. The affordable housing units are intended to be used as recruitment and retention tools for their respective organizations, which could be used for a wide range of employees that are employed at different salary levels. At first reading, staff discussed the criteria that the application was reviewed against and found that the request was consistent with the intent of the CSC zone district, specific goals found within the 2020 Basalt Master Plan, the housing mitigation section of the code, and it maintained, both applicants are maintaining a rental rate beneath the Category 2 maximum. The PNC had approved the council, provided council, with a unanimous recommendation of approval of the application at their March 7th hearing. And at first reading on April 11th, the council had the opportunity to review the request, hear staff's presentation, consider some information provided by the applicants, as well as open the meeting for public comment, which there was none at that time. And council did not request any additional information from staff or the applicants for consideration at second reading here tonight. So we do have the applicants here today. If you have any further questions you'd like to ask of the applicants or of staff, we recommend asking questions that you may have of us, taking public comment if there is any, and we ultimately do recommend approval of ordinance number 6, series of 2023 at second reading with the conditions as drafted.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I'll ask if there are anyone from the audience virtually that might want to call in and comment on this ordinance. Anybody in the audience? So it appears that we have no public interest in commenting, so we can move on from the public hearing, see if their council has questions or comments, further discussion.
I have just a point of, I guess, clarification for myself. In one of the memos, it's noted that the office space associated with the units, does that mean that CMC is gonna have an office space on the, like, I guess will be the first floor commercial space there? And then the housing is an additional request?
Would you like to speak to that, Matt?
Sure.
Thank you for the question. I'm Matt Gianeschi, Chief Operating Officer at Colorado Mountain College. So the way that the purchases were structured is that there's an office space. It's actually on the second floor, so when you come up the stairs, it was is 4 separate office spaces in one unit. So think of it as a room like this. Each 1/4 share associated with each of the 4 condos. In discussing it with the fire district, we said that we would like, Colorado Mountain College would like to have a physical presence in Basalt. And so our preference would be to purchase all of the 4 shares and make it one, think of it as a community gathering space. If any of you have been to Morgridge Commons in Glenwood, where you've seen that space above the library, the Morgridge family has donated funding to the college to create what we're calling Morgridge Mid-Valley. And it'll be a space that's designed with the same kinds of elements. Obviously not as big. It's about the size of this room is what it actually comes out to be. But it allows us to have that space occupied as one. There will be an office space that's located in there. Many of we'll have faculty and others who are sort of teaching class there, or we'll have meetings that are being held in the community in that space, and so that'll be sort of a floating office space, but it'll be available for individuals at that point. And we hope, like Morgridge Commons, be available effectively free of charge to any of the nonprofits and other entities in the Basalt area that would like to use that meeting space for their purposes. So that's really what that's intended to provide.
Well, and then it's the two-bedroom units?
So the 2 2-bedrooms are going to the fire district. Right. We agreed to purchase the 2 3-bedrooms. Okay. So we're taking the 3, they're taking the 2.
And then you get the office space.
We get and we're gonna buy the full share of the office space.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I'd entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 6 on second reading.
Mayor, I move that the town council adopt ordinance number 6, series of 2023 on second reading.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Pam, please call the roll.
Absolutely. Let's begin with Elise Hoddle,
Yes.
Bill Kane,
Yes.
Ryan Slack,
Yes.
Dieter Schindler,
Yes.
David Knight,
Yes.
Glenn Drummond,
Yes.
Angela Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sarah.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next item, ordinance number 7, series of 2023. Ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Basalt, Colorado, applying easement agreement with the Twin Rivers Condominium Association, Inc. for location of soil nails. So, looks like Jeff's gonna handle this tonight.
I'll handle this one.
Okay.
As you may have heard, the town is pursuing the Midland Streetscape project. As you may have seen and heard, it's underway right over here on the Midland Spur with the excavation. And one of the components on this first phase of the project is to install a retaining wall. And during this process, we've learned that to secure that retaining wall, there will need to be soil nails to kind of affix the retaining wall to the existing, kind of dirt structure there. And that will extend into the neighboring property. And kind of for this, there may be a few of these coming, but to accommodate that soil nail, the town needs to acquire an easement from the property owner for the soil nail to be located underground on the property. So that's what's in front of you tonight, is an ordinance to approve an easement agreement for, to allow for the town to acquire an easement for soil nails to hold up this retaining wall.
Does the existing retaining wall have soil nail support?
There's no existing retaining wall anymore.
Yeah, but it didn't have soil nails.
So is this, call it the different techniques, is this just basically drilling and blowing in grout to secure the wall, or is this actually a steel?
Steel rods.
Steel rods,
Mhm.
okay. Oh, great. So what's the nature of the agreement, though? Do we have to indemnify them, or what's the?
So what we have in the packet is kind of a pretty basic easement agreement. The town, as a governmental entity, can't provide an indemnification because it violates Tabor and a number of other laws, but we can provide insurance. That's one potential thing. Given that the easement area is underground and not interfering with any other utilities or things like that, it's not that we're acquiring an easement where there might be accidents that might happen. There's pretty low kind of risk factor. So a simple approach to this type of easement and use is the recommended approach.
Great. Okay.
Does this impact any timing, or are we kind of just keep working through it and acquire the easement as we go?
There will be more easements to come before you. We have been completing survey work and kind of figuring out some of the kind of evolving boundaries of where we're going to be making improvements and where not, and getting those more precise. This is one that kind of came to a head based on kind of more recently, just kind of based on the work coming together and seeing what exactly was needed there.
We're still on schedule.
That's, there you go, thanks. The PM and me.
So more type easements coming in this fashion, or just throughout the project as you get there and you're like, oh, well, how about that?
Yeah, well, we've been looking at this for a while, trying to figure out where just stepping back, whole Midland project, where might we need easements to make improvements that are within the scope of the streetscape project. And so there are already a number of easements that the town benefits from for sidewalk improvements, and those easements provide the right to repair, replace, improve public improvements in those easement areas. There are a few areas that are within the scope of the project where there aren't easements, and so we've been in discussions with those property owners on acquiring the easements, and have had good discussions, and kind of at the point of really just kind of fine tuning what those easement areas are going to be, and then if we need to kind of make any tweaks to the form of the easement agreement that I've put together on each of these different projects, or each of these different areas. As for the spur area, I might have to defer to you as to whether we'll need more easements in the spur.
Highly unlikely.
Okay.
This should be the only one, unless something unforeseen comes up. The retaining wall that we're building is significantly taller, and it's set back further into the hill, so it has more work to do than the former retaining wall, which was significantly shorter. And the reason for that is that having this retaining wall pushed back is allowing us to put those extra parking spaces in. We have, as you move further down Midland, we have outlined kind of the ideas of where we need future easements, so those will come back at another time, and it'll be a lot more succinct. This was sort of an engineering detail that came through, and we weren't sure exactly which way it was gonna go until we knew. So,
I've forgotten, is this like color tinted concrete, or is it gonna be big alluvial boulders, or what's the?
it's shotcrete, and it's gonna be sculpted into into basaltic rock forms. So it's gonna be a custom form.
Okay.
And it's gonna be custom colored as well. So the day that they're ready to do that, there'll actually be staff out there that will actually sculpt the shotcrete as it's being created. So it'll have a really interesting feel to it. The end of the retaining wall, which we don't have here, as it goes down, will have a gabion basket and an art piece at the end. So it'll be more than just a retaining wall.
Euphemistically referred to as cultured stone, I think, in the trade.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So this is a first reading. There's not a public hearing notice for tonight. But if you have any other questions, otherwise you can approve and set the public hearing for second reading.
Just says no public hearing.
Okay, so.
Right, this isn't a public hearing.
So,
You'll set
okay,
it for
set
the
it for
first
the next go round. Mayor, I move the town council approve ordinance number 7, series of 2023 on first reading, set the public hearing and second reading for May 9th, 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Pam, please call the roll.
Absolutely. Let's begin with Ryan Slack,
Yes.
Bill Kane.
Me.
Kane.
Is that me?
That's
Yes.
you. That's you. Elise Huddle,
Yes.
Dieter Schindler,
Yes.
Glenn Drummond,
Yes.
David Knight,
Yes.
Angela Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Well, I think that concludes our business, unless there are any more ordinances anybody wants to bring up. Okay, thanks, guys. So we'll be back at it May 9. Yeah.
And we will have a work session with CPW at that meeting.
Oh, good.